My name is Douglas Franklin Ryan, and I am from Southern Oregon, but I was in Klamath River, California, and I survived the McKinney Creek Fire. I concentrated my whole life on raising my family, making a living, and making sure they had what they needed. But since, they've left the nest, and me and my wife have divorced, fishing, taking it easy. I retired at 59, You don't do much during the day because it's 100 and something degrees, or you're in the house. I would keep doing my normal, going in, get lunch and relax a little bit, but I'd keep watching that smoke. And they had helicopters on it and planes dropping stuff on it. We couldn't see them, but they were, because it was on the other side, but I could see the helicopters with bags of water dipping out of the river and going to the area. And then it looked like it was out. But we've been watching it all day, and it progressed slowly, but we watched the fire from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just the smoke, that's all we could see, from 2 to about 8. And at one point it looked like the smoke had stopped and nothing but white clouds of steam were coming up. And I went back in the house and thought, it's over. And about an hour later, my neighbor knocked on the door and said, here it comes. And it just came over the mountain, was coming right down the hill toward us. And that was about 8 o'clock, 8:15. And so we watched it for about an hour while we were packing everything up. That's when we knew we had to get out. But it was moving to our left, which was straight east. And I wasn't concerned about it. It was on the other side of the river, and it wasn't very aggressive coming down the hill. And then we had a car in the driveway. We had to get towed out of the way because nobody had the key to it, blocking everybody in. We got that towed out of the way. Then we noticed a hot spot at the very tail of it, and it jumped the river and then jumped the road. And so we had fire coming up on both sides of us. And at that point, it traveled really fast. It was probably going 100 yards every 15 seconds. And it was really traveling. And so we thought we had half hour, 45 minutes to get out of there. We only had about 7 or 8 minutes in reality. And when it finally hit, the wind came up and the embers were blowing sideways like a blizzard, like snow in a blizzard storm. And that's all you could see was red sparks everywhere. The fire wasn't to us, but the sparks were, which meant everything was going up at once. The grass went up, lit the trees went up. None of the structures were burning when I left, but everything, all the grass and all the vegetation was going up immediately. And I ran in the house. There's a man named John Cogan in there. He was the uncle of one of my roommates, and I think he's 74. And I went in there, I said, John, we got to go. He goes, I'm not going anywhere. I said, yeah. He goes, I've seen this a dozen times. I've lived here 30 years. I'm not going anywhere. He goes, if I leave here and I lose everything, it'll kill me. If I stay here and die, I'll have to take that chance. And, I said, I'll put you over my shoulder. He goes, no, you won't. And at that point, I had like a minute. I didn't know it, but I only had a minute left. So I ran out. I hate myself for doing it, but I had to do it. I wasn't going to wrestle him to the ground and pull him by the hair out that door. He's a grown man, and he made that decision. And had I fought with him over it, I probably wouldn't be here. But he passed away in the fire. That and 5 dogs on the property. By the time I got outside from talking to John, the ember storm had started. Like a 40-mile-an-hour wind, embers everywhere, everything's on fire. And me and another tenant on the property had to duck down behind the motorhome to avoid the embers, because they were hitting you in the face, they were hitting you everywhere. And we sat there for a minute and it wasn't slowing down, so we decided just to make a break for the vehicle, get in there and get the car started. Another couple that was in the house, it was actually John's niece and her boyfriend. They couldn't get the vehicle started. They had everything in the car, but the car wouldn't start. So at the last minute, they abandoned everything and jumped in the RV that was behind me. So I got to the gate, and the gate just seemed, I don't know if it was me or if something was wrong with the gate, but it just seemed to move slow. you know. And we wanted the gate open and get out of there. Everything was on fire. The heat was so bad in the window of the truck that I had to duck down behind the door panel to avoid the radiation heat. Kind of burnt my ear and singed the hair on my left side. And that was through the glass. But after I got through the gate, I drove about 100 feet where there was nothing but flame. I kind of memorized where the road was. It was our driveway. Luckily, I stayed on it. Had I not stayed on the road, I would have crashed and the people behind me wouldn't have got out. Luckily, I came out on the highway, came through the flames, and then hit the Highway 96 and thought, okay, I made it. And I look in my mirror and I'm on fire. My trailer's on fire. My dog and cat are in that trailer. Everything I own was in the truck and trailer. And went about half a mile, asked several of the Cal Fire people for water, but they didn't even hear water. They were evacuating. They were running. They were as scared as I was. And these are the first responders, the ones that should have been standing there holding their ground. They didn't make a stand on that fire till it was getting ready to take the store out, the only store in the area. So that was about money, is what I'm thinking. But there was 15 houses in that valley that they could have saved with that natural fire break, which was the pasture. It's about a quarter mile wide by mile and a half long. It's a big spot with no fuel, just grass. So that's where they should have made their stand, and they did not. I did not see a drop of water hit the ground. And that's where the 4 people died in that fire. 4 people died in that fire. One of them was John Cogan. A couple couldn't get out, and they weren't working well together. They were arguing about stuff rather than bonding together and meshing in a time of need. They didn't work well together, and that caused them a lot of problems. I mean, a good couple got to bond together right there, merge into one, and fight this thing together, not bicker among themselves on who's to blame about not getting it done or what. And then an old fire, she used to work fire watch up on a fire tower for 40 years, and then she ended up dying in a fire at home after retirement. When you think you got, like I said before, they quoted me, when you think you got 10 minutes, you might have 5, but you probably only got 2.5, so get the hell out of there. Don't wait. We were trying to get everybody loaded, everybody go out together, you know. Don't leave them, because had me and Dave left, their car wouldn't have started and they'd have died. So, I mean, it was a matter of, we went in as a team, we could come out as a team, I thought, you know. But we waited too long. We really did. I know the neighbor across the street, she's an older woman. Her name was Elsa. And she had gone back to her house into the basement with her animals and was resigned to die. She was at our gate and we would have taken her out, but she wasn't there when we started to leave. She had gone back home and said, hell with it, and went into the basement. And firefighters did get her out. That's what I heard. I knew her well, but I haven't seen her since the fire. There was no warning. We knew we were in the evacuation zone. The sheriff had come by, tagged the residents that it was inhabited and that they had been told to get out. And that's all they were going to do. You started burning. You don't even think about doing it in an orderly fashion. You just got to go, you know. And I made a lot of mistakes that night. That had I had a little bit more time to mentally prepare myself for that kind of rush, I wouldn't have lost my truck and trailer. When we got to Wairika, California, that's where the shelter was. The next day, the fire was threatening Wairika. It had traveled 12 miles in a couple of days up that canyon. And so they evacuated parts of Wairika and shut down the shelter. I went ahead and went to the rest stop north of town and camped out there until I could get a ride north, because I'd already ordered my driver's license, my bank card, so I had some money. But the response was slow. It was 2 weeks after the fire, we finally started getting some help. But it was all local and Red Cross, Salvation Army, United Way, no federal funds, not, you know, FEMA's not here, and very little from the state, you know. But I understand, it's not that, you know, we only lost 4 people. Paradise lost 85 or something like that. But it was the same situation. There was only 150 people in that valley, though. It wasn't like Paradise had 550 or something thousand that they had to evacuate. We only had 150, and we still lost 4 people. You know, It was a traffic jam that would have killed everybody. We didn't have that much traffic. A very remote area, not a lot of people. That's what saved a lot of lives, because it moved faster than I could even imagine. I'm not sure about the ability to get fire insurance in this zone because it burns all the time. So, I mean, an underwriter for that area would be taking a large risk to even insure anybody down there. And we were in a 10-year drought, and the bank demanded we get flood insurance, but we could not get fire insurance. I don't understand that. You know, they're going to make us insure against the flood, which we haven't even seen enough rain to do anything in 10 years, but we can't even buy fire insurance if we wanted to. I got out of there with a shirt, my shorts, my sandals, and my cell phone in my pocket. That's all I got when I left that truck. And had no money, didn't have any gas to put in the RV. We were lucky the RV even got there because it was on empty when we left, and it was like a 12-mile drive. And a water tank driver from Scott Valley, which is lower down the Klamath than we are, gave me $100 that night. And that's that just shows you that's the compassion of some people. And then others are predators. They see that and they find a chance to, scam you or something like that, preying on us, preying on the victims of this fire. It's horrible. At times I doubt humanity, and at other times I see the best part of it. I saw it this week, or last month. So I saw the best of both, best and the worst of humans.
We invite eyewitnesses of climate disasters, as well as anyone who has specific knowledge of such events, to be interviewed. Please contact us, share your story. For the whole world to know the truth, participation of every person is important.